Well, hello and welcome back to Holistic Therapeutics HT400 for the College of Natural Health Sciences, Bermuda. My name is Dr. Delcina Bean Burrows, and this is Lecture 3D, Holistic Aesthetics, the Holistic Facial Difference. Now, this is the final lecture of the series of lectures that we have had on holistic aesthetics. And so there is no assignment that is due at the end of this lecture. However, you are encouraged to really study these notes and to review the video and all the other videos that we have had, some of which are on YouTube, and your lecture notes in preparation for the certification exam. Now, in terms of today's lecture objectives, at the end of today's lecture, students will understand how to provide a holistic facial session with a difference. This includes the introduction, the initial consultation, skin analysis, range of motion of the neck and shoulder assessment and treatment, gentle head massage, preparation of the facial experience, cleansing, steaming, exfoliation, mask application, hands and feet massage, removal of mask, moisturizer application, and concluding the session. And also, students will be familiar with contractions and aftercare that are involved in a holistic facial. So let's talk about the holistic facial with a difference. Well, the holistic facial begins with the introduction of yourself as the therapist to your client. You are going to build a genuine rapport with your client, and you will remember that you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So you really want to make sure that you are fully on code, so to speak, in terms of your appearance, your manner in which you greet your client, and you just want to make the client feel welcome and as at ease as possible, because hopefully this is not just a one-time thing. You are building a relationship with your client, and if you have a long-term relationship for your client, then that means you will stay in business for quite some time. So you want to make a good first impression. Now, in terms of your initial consultation, here is your chance to build a therapeutic alliance with your client. So you want to be sure to listen carefully to your client's responses to the consultation questions. Be as attentive as possible. You want to center yourself and calm your nerves, ideally before your client arrives. This will help to put your client at ease when you, as the therapist, is seen as projecting a warm and welcoming aura. You also want to make sure that you perform the skin analysis. And we did do the lecture on skin analysis, so I'm not going to go into great detail here. I'm going to refer you back to that particular lecture and your lecture notes. But this is your opportunity to get to know your client's skin and determine what is needed in terms of treatment. You want to find out how the client views his or her skin. And you want to help the client to feel comfortable about opening up about any concerns or any feelings of insecurities that he or she may have about their skin. So that will take place during the skin analysis. So it's very much an interactive process. So after you have performed the skin analysis and you have done the initial consultation, you want to go into the range of motion of the neck and the shoulders. This will help to loosen the client, and it's done very gently. You're going to synchronize your breathing with the client. You want to allow the client to perform the neck and shoulder movements in each plane that you would demonstrate with them. And then you're going to look for any obvious signs of decreased range of motion and motion fluidity. Are the movements smooth? Are they jerky? Are you noticing any asymmetry in terms of movement? So after you have done that, you want to gently range the neck and the shoulders in a slow, smooth rhythm. And this will allow the client to get used to your touch and for you to synchronize your breathing with the client. Always ask the client if he or she is experiencing any pain, not just when you're doing the range of motion, but upon your initial consultation, you want to ask them before you proceed, are you in any pain right now, or are you feeling any discomfort? And if they are, then they'll let you know. And if it's something that is really acute, then you will have to make the decision as to whether or not it is appropriate to carry out the facial at that particular point in time. But hopefully they aren't in any major discomfort, and the treatment that you provide in terms of the gentle range of motion and then later on the facial should help them to feel more at ease and more relaxed. And if they are having any maybe pain in some other area of their body, this will help them to not focus on it as much and perhaps maybe ease their pain overall that they're experiencing. So you want to make sure that you stay in touch with your client at all times and ask them, are they feeling any pain or any discomfort? Now, after you have performed the range of motion exercises, you want to move on to a gentle head massage. This is a strategic massage around the sutures of the cranium. You want to gently elevate the scalp with the palms of your hands placed at the temporal and parietal bones of the skull. And this is again very gentle, very subtle, and you can tell quite a bit about how much stress the client is under because you can literally feel their body responding or resisting to your touch when you do this. So again, this is something to give you information as to where the client may be holding some tension in their body. And also before you start to do your facial, you will have all of these things in mind, and you can be more strategic in terms of where you apply pressure, how much, and to what extent the client really needs to let go and release the tension in their body. So this is a great thing to do just before you go into the actual facial sequence. Okay, so now we're going to discuss the facial sequence. Once you have ranged your client's neck and shoulders and performed the gentle head massage, you are now ready to follow the facial sequence. You want to be sure to explain what steps are involved in the facial and get the client's input in terms of what products they would like for you to use on their skin. You always get the client's consent to massage their face, their shoulders, their neck, their hands, and their feet from the very beginning. So when you explain to them the steps that are involved, for example, when you say, when it comes to applying the mask, I usually massage the hands and the feet. Will that be okay with you? And you get their consent. And so cleansing, as we know, is the first step. You're going to use upward strokes to gently but firmly massage the face and the neck. You're going to then use steam. Once you have removed the cleanser, you're going to use steam for no longer than 10 minutes for clients with normal skin. And for elderly clients and clients with sensitive skin, you should give a treatment for no more than 5 minutes. You want to always test the steam on your skin first before placing it on the client's skin. And the steamer should be at least 8 inches, sometimes 8 to 12 inches, depending on how powerful the steamer is. It should be at least that length away from the client's face. And then you want to move on to applying the facial scrub. Okay, and again, this is one of those areas where if you have a choice in terms of what scrubs you're going to be using, you always want to get the client's input at that point in time in terms of what scrubs they would like for you to put on their face and their neck and their shoulders, of course. And then after you have applied the exfoliation and then you have removed it, you're then going to move on to the mask application. Okay, so you're going to apply the mask. And this is where, again, you're going to get the client's input in terms of what ingredients they would like for you to use on their skin. And of course, as we know with holistic facials, we use all, as much as possible, organic products. And then you're going to move on to massaging the shoulders, the hands, and the feet. Be sure to use a cleansing wipe on the client's hands and feet before attempting to massage the hands and feet. If there are obvious signs of nail fungus, skip to just the hands or not at all. Okay? So then you're going to remove the mask after it has been in place for at least 10 minutes. Some masks can remain for a maximum of about 15 to 20 minutes. It just depends on the ingredients that you're using, but you want to be sure that you have not left any residue or traces of the mask on the client's skin. You're going to apply the facial toner after you have removed the mask. Some facial procedures apply the toner immediately after cleansing, but it's really a therapist's preference. I prefer to do it after I have removed the mask because it tends to tighten up the skin and make it nice and firm and moist. And if you're going to apply the moisturizer, I just find that it applies a lot better after you have put the toner on. So then, as I mentioned, you're then going to move on to the moisturizer phase. This is where you want to be sure that the skin is drinking in the moisturizer and that it is evenly applied. You want to avoid heavy application that will give the skin an oily appearance. So you're going to really be very delicate in this process of applying the moisturizer because we're not trying to clog up their pores, so to speak, which can be the case if you use way too much moisturizer. So all you're doing is you're just putting the oils back into the skin, massaging it in so that it looks nice and fresh and natural. Okay? And then you're going to allow the client to relax quietly for at least 10 minutes before concluding your session. Your client may have fallen into a deep sleep, and if so, you want to gently awaken the client and allow them to regain alertness before they attempt to get off of the treatment table. This is very important. So, and you, again, as I mentioned, you want to do this very gently. You don't want to abruptly wake them up because then all the benefits that they would have gotten from having this very nice facial massage will have been lost. So you're going to be very, very gentle with them and make sure that they have a firm footing in terms of their feet on the ground when they attempt to get up, because we don't want someone to either fall or bump into something. So you're going to stand right next to your client and you're going to assist them in terms of gaining their composure, if you will, as you conclude the session. So now let's discuss contractions and adverse reactions. And we did, if you will recall, discuss this in our practical training lecture number 3 or 4. But in any event, we're going to talk about it again here. The client should be made aware of any adverse reactions that they may experience without alarming them. So it is a good idea to have a leaflet detailing advice and aftercare for the client to take home. After the treatment, your client will be relaxed and they may forget what you have told them. So this is just a nice little touch that you can add on to the end of your treatment. And it's a nice reminder of the good experience. Hopefully it was a good experience that the client had with you. So you're going to give them a nice little leaflet just explaining some things that could possibly happen after they've had a facial. Some reactions may occur both during and after treatment. And while changes are a positive step to the body reestablishing equilibrium, these need to be manageable and symptoms should not persist. We also discussed in the practical training lecture about a healing crisis, and the healing crisis is the name given to noticeable adverse reactions. A client could experience a return or increase in symptoms before they notice an improvement. This should only be temporary, however. So, where there is a long history of imbalance or illness, this is more likely. It may also be an indicator that instead of having a healing reaction, the client has been overtreated and the body has been thrown into a crisis. It may be a reaction between treatment and medication that the client is taking. If an adverse healing crisis occurs during treatment, it should be stopped immediately and the treatment re-evaluated. So this is something that we really want to be careful about. We really want to take the time to really get to know and understand our client. As was mentioned earlier, if the client is taking any kind of medication, sometimes there's some type of reaction with that. And healing crises are, I mean, it really just depends on the client. It really depends on the client and what they have been exposed to and what they have been undergoing in terms of stress and other factors before they came to see you. So we have to make the client aware that healing crisis is something that could possibly occur, but it should be something short-lived. And if it is not short-lived, then perhaps it has something to do with either them being overtreated by yourself as a therapist or a reaction with other medications. But a healing crisis is something that should be short-lived. So if there is a case of the adverse healing crisis, then we need to really evaluate our treatment and determine what is the best course of action going forward. Let's take a moment to discuss non-effective treatments. It may be evident on the completion of a treatment that it has not been effective. The client may not be relaxed and may even seem agitated. You need to address the reasons straight away. These could simply be that the client has never had the treatment before and was nervous or just finds it difficult to relax. Hopefully, this will be resolved on consecutive treatments if you get the opportunity to treat the person again. However, it could be the fault of the therapist. Did you carry out a consultation, consider the client's needs, communicate with your client, and create the right environment? You should also advise the client when they should return for further treatment, and if appropriate, discuss any suitable products they should be using at home. And hopefully, this will become a retail opportunity. Now, in terms of general aftercare, the client will be in a relaxed and more emotional state after treatment, and any further questions should be carefully phrased. It is not only useful to record what products you have chosen to use, but it is also a good idea to record any sales you have made so that these can be followed up. The following is a simple sheet that can be added to the client's record sheet or card. And here we see illustrated, we have the date, the treatment products that were used during the session. If there were any sales or samples that were given to the client, you can note them there. And of course, the therapist's name and any additional comments. And this just helps you to stay on track and on top of how a client is being managed. So if you work in a setting where there is perhaps more than one therapist or a practitioner who might be performing the same service for your client, if you have the card recorded, if you keep good records, then they can fill out, or I should say they should be able to see what you're doing and continue with that same course of treatment in the event that you're not there on a particular day when the client comes in for a treatment session. And it's also a good way to keep on track in terms of when you sold a client something and let's say it was so many months ago, then you would be able to say, you know, I did sell you some of this product way back when, 6 months ago, and is it time for some more? Will you be needing any more? And they may say, oh yes, you know, I've been meaning to follow up and get some more. It just slipped my mind the last time I was here, you know. So this just helps you to stay in touch with your client's needs, and it makes them also feel like, you know, you take them very seriously, you value them in terms of the relationship that you're building with them over a period of time, because you're taking notes and you know what their preferences are, and you can anticipate what they will or may need in the future. So, you know, it's just a good practice all the way around. So here are some super tips to keep in mind as you go about your practice as a holistic aesthetics practitioner. You always want to reflect and evaluate. So upon completion of each treatment, spend a few minutes reflecting and evaluating. The next time, would you change anything when you see the client? If you were really pleased with the results, was the client equally pleased? And when it comes to booking the next treatment, you want to offer to book the client's next treatment before they leave. They can always phone to change arrangements, and they are more likely to do this than to phone to make an appointment at regular intervals. So go ahead, once that client, as soon as they get off the treatment table, you want to make sure you say to them, let's look at booking for our next treatment. When would you like to come back? You know, so you kind of have to do these things in order to make sure that you have a steady flow of clients. And even if the client really, you know, doesn't want to come back, they get busy with their lives and they may forget. So it's good to be able to book them for another session the next time around, and that way you always have an idea as to how busy you're going to be in terms of your schedule. When it comes to even scheduling your other clients, you can get a feel for which days are your busiest days, that kind of thing. Now, in terms of contractions that may follow a holistic facial, we want to look at some reactions, the reason for those reactions, and whether it is a positive or a negative thing. So the first thing that we want to look at is the reaction of an increased feeling of well-being. This is always what we want when we provide any kind of holistic treatment. And the reason for this feeling of well-being is that the body's natural way of making you slow down so that it can heal increases fluid intake to encourage excretion of toxins due to the release of toxins from the muscle fibers as a result of either the massage or facial due to the release of endorphins. This is a positive thing, and this, as I mentioned, is what we always try to achieve with any type of treatment that we do. And we also have the reaction of a relief from muscular tension and stress. And the reason for this is because increased circulation into tissues during a massage or facial removes metabolites. So this also is a positive thing. But then we may have the reaction of skin irritation. And the reason for this may be sensitivity to a product. So we want to rinse with lukewarm water until all traces of the product have been removed. And for larger areas, we recommend a lukewarm shower. Now, this is considered a negative reaction. You always want to make sure that the sensitivity to the product wasn't because you maybe used too much or you didn't dilute something. Say, for example, when it comes to an essential oil, you always want to make sure that you have the right amount of dilution of essential oil to carrier oil. So hopefully it's more having to do with maybe a sensitivity to a product itself as opposed to you overusing or not properly diluting a product. So we want to keep fully aware of that. And so, as I mentioned, that would be an example of a negative reaction. Okay. Now, the other reaction that we may have is when we allow the client to rest for at least 5 minutes. This can be in a quiet area away from the treatment room. And the reason for doing this is to gain maximum benefit from the treatment. So we allow the client to fully become back alert, and this is a positive thing. Another good action to do is to offer the client a drink of water after the treatment session has concluded. You want to encourage them to drink it. Don't simply ask if they want it. You really want to encourage them to drink it. The client should drink plenty of water to flush the system. Toxins will have been released from the manipulation of soft tissues, and where applicable, or as a result of the body relaxing and releasing tension. So water is a great way to flush all of the toxins and the metabolites out of your body. The toxins and waste will have been released during the treatment. This is the reason for, offering them the water. And drinking water will help them to encourage the urinary system to flush these toxins out. If these are allowed to build up, the client may feel a bit hungover, so we want to avoid that. Okay, so offering them water after a treatment session is a positive thing. Now, here are some additional aftercare and advice instructions that you want to give to your client after a holistic facial. You want to advise the client to avoid strenuous activity for a few hours. Ideally, the client should go home to rest and relax. To have maximum effect, the client needs to allow the body to continue to balance itself after treatment. Resting will give the body the opportunity to do so. You want to also ask the client to avoid alcohol and stimulants, including any drink with caffeine, such as cola. The client may drink herb, fruit teas, or infusions. Alcohol and stimulants will put stress on the urinary system, which will be working hard to eliminate toxins released during treatment. If you are encouraging the body to relax, you need to avoid chemicals that will stimulate it. And then you also want to have the client to avoid heat treatments for a few hours, as this will speed up the absorption of the oils if used as part of the treatment. This includes sunbathing, sunbeds, hair dryers, saunas, steam baths, and hot baths. Where oils have been used, advise the client to leave the oils on the skin for as long as possible. Heat will speed up the absorption of essential oils and may cause an adverse reaction. Some essential oils, as you know, will increase skin sensitivity to ultraviolet rays. So you're going to be very careful in terms of what essential oils you use in your holistic facials, as we've already discussed. The oils will have an emollient and conditioning effect on the skin, and where essential oils have been used, these should be left to continue their therapeutic work for some time after the treatment has completed, ideally around 24 hours. Also, if the person has to drive after they have received a treatment, you want to have the client make sure that he keeps a window open. The client may feel drowsy and should get fresh air to keep them alert. Some essential oils have a particularly relaxing effect. If the client is very drowsy, get them to wait a while before having them get into their car. Ideally, someone else really should drive, but in some cases it's not always possible. So in cases where you go to the client's home and they're not going anywhere after the treatment, that's great, you know. But if they come to you and they come to your clinic or your wellness center, wherever you are practicing, then You want to make sure that they are completely safe and fully alert before they leave your clinic. Then you want to make sure you have them follow a simple skincare routine at home. And to continue the effects of the facial treatment, you want to encourage them as an ongoing process to continue in a regular skincare treatment. This will help to slow down the effects of aging. Also, it will help to boost body treatments and keep the skin of the body in good condition. And you also want to advise the client of any possible contractions or adverse reactions. As we had discussed earlier, the client should be aware of any changes that may be experienced, as these are part of the treatment process. However, there are occasions when the client may want to seek further reassurance, and as such, they should be given the opportunity to know they can call you for advice. So you don't want to just send them on their way. You just let them know, if for some reason you have some type of reaction or what have you, please call me and I will walk you through the process of what it is that you need to do. Okay? Make sure that they know that they can call you at an appropriate time, hopefully. Hopefully it wouldn't be like 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that when you're half asleep and you can't really give them the attention they need. And then you want to discuss with the client further treatments. So many therapists fail to follow up their treatment. You want to make sure you advise the client when to return for their next treatment. And also, it's a nice touch if, say for example, if you have the first time you have a client and they receive their facial and they give you good feedback, well, sometimes it's nice to send them a little postcard or something in the mail. Believe it or not, people still use the mail, not just email. But if email is the only way of being able to communicate with the client after the fact, then use it. But sometimes it's nice, particularly for the older clients, they might like getting a little something in the mail that says, oh, it was so nice to meet you the other day. It was so nice for you to come into our clinic, and I was so happy to serve you. And just know that we are here for you should you choose to use our services again. Just little nice touches like that can make all the difference. So you want to make sure that you follow up with your clients at every opportunity that you get to do so. Okay, so we have reached the end of this lecture, as well as the entire lecture series for the Holistic Aesthetics course. Yay, I know you're so excited. Okay, so this is the final lecture for this class. You want to be sure to study all the notes from previous lectures, as well as the material contained within your Holistic Aesthetics Training Manual. In order to obtain your certification in this area, you must achieve a score of 80% on the written exam. If you do not achieve a score of 80% on the first try, you will have one more opportunity to retake the exam. And your certificate, your certification in Holistic Aesthetics, will be issued during our graduation and award ceremony. So you want to make sure that you go over all your notes. Look, if you have to go back over the videos, it's nice to be able to go back and look at the videos, but really study your training manual. And of course, if you have any questions about anything, I am always here for you. You can send me a text message or an email address, well, I should say an email to my email address. And if there are any difficulties absorbing anything, but I really believe everyone seems to be doing quite well. And it's just a question now of making sure that you really study your Holistic Aesthetics Training Manual, as well as going over the notes that you have been given for each lecture. And as I mentioned already, please, as much as you can, I know some of the lectures are maybe longer than others, but if you can, go back and review them, look at the videos, the ones that are on YouTube, and the ones that might still be on the school website. I have to take them down every now and then because it uses up a lot of space. The more videos we have on the website, I have to end up taking them down. So, but certainly look at the ones that are on YouTube. And as I mentioned, if you have any difficulty, you know my office hours are on Thursdays from 4 to 6 p.m. You can always send me a text message or an email, and I will get back to you. Okay? So I want to take this opportunity to wish you all the very best for a rewarding career in holistic aesthetics. I am so confident that you all will make excellent practitioners in this area, and I look forward to handing you your certificate at the awards ceremony. Do take care.